Is there still no sound? There should be sound working now. I'm so sorry about that, you guys. Oi, oi, oi. Let there be sound. Okay, good. Good. So sorry about that. So sorry about that. Oh my goodness. Friday's off to an awesome start. We got it fixed though. We are good. We are good. How you guys doing? You can even see me. Good. Simone, I apologize sincerely. That stream was having so many buggy issues. I did catch your question about competition and everyone as you pushed out, and that's actually a really good one. And I do want to start with that one. I think I'm just going to give it another minute or so for people to come in. But yeah, I want to get to that question first and foremost. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you again for the super chat, though. Yay. Hello, guys. Hello, hello, hello. Sound is good. That is all fixed. I had to jump onto a whole new stream. Do apologize. Bad dreams after revision? Yeah, I could touch on that too. That's not uncommon. That's not uncommon. Hi, guys. Hello, hello. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. So I'm going to get started here in just a second. Just kind of waiting for people to come on in since I had to basically make a new stream because I had no sound on the other one. So just going to give it another couple seconds longer, but then I'm going to jump in. You guys are already asking awesome questions. I love this. I love this so much. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started because I am impatient and I want to dive in. And y'all are already asking some amazing questions. So, on the previous stream before I had to disconnect, got a really good question about competition and everyone as you pushed out. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the question was, well, you wanted me to basically talk about how there is no competition because everyone is you pushed out. And quite simply, that is the truth. With everyone as you pushed out, everyone in your world is going to show up in a way that we believe and assume that they're going to show up. Right? So knowing this and understanding that it doesn't matter what outside circumstances appear like, it doesn't matter if there's quote unquote competition or what looks like competition, because in your reality, that doesn't exist. That's an illusion. And it's because people are going to show up, events and circumstances are going to show up in a way that we assume and believe them to show up. Right? So, on that premise, how could there be competition if there is no power outside of you greater than you? Competition is an illusion. Completely. Completely. And I'm so sorry. There was another question that you had, Simone, about bad dreams and revision. If you want to shoot me that question again really quick, again, I'm so sorry. But I want to get to that one too. Thank you. Thank you, SB. I'm glad to hear things are shifting for you, that you're noticing a difference. Yeah. Thank you, Charlie. No, thank you guys. You guys are the best. Much love to all of you. Oh, is there a way to test no competition to prove it? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can, just like with anything else, just like with the ladder experiment or the ladder technique, just like with, the way that we go about testing the law on random things, objects, whatever, you can also do it when it comes to other people. You can test the law, you can test everyone as you pushed out specifically. Yeah, 100%. And it would be in the same way that you do for anything else. If there's something, if there appears to be somebody that you're in competition with, that you are at odds with, imagine the scenario that you want to have coming out on top. I don't know if this is a contest. I don't know if this is in regards to a partner and third party, but whatever the case, you can absolutely test it. And you can test that people do, in fact, show up in the way that you're going to assume they show up. About revision, I had a horrible dream, literally about the bad childhood, when I have been revising it for 4 nights, and I was wondering if my subconscious is rejecting. Mm-mm, no. It's not uncommon when we are reconditioning, when we are, and this sometimes happens too when we're listening to affirmations, when we sleep, doing things like revision. It's not uncommon to sometimes have bad dreams or feel anxious, wake up feeling anxious, things like that. And it's not a bad thing. It doesn't point to subconscious rejection. It's pointing to almost like a purging, like what it does. Sort of, the best way to describe it is sort of a purging of that old state, of that old garbage, right? If you are transitioning from that old state of consciousness into a new state of consciousness, you can't take all of those old memories with you. They gotta kind of come up and out sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. No, it's not a sign of rejection or anything like that. It's normal. It does happen. Rest assured. Welcome, John M. I'm glad that we just got started. We just got started. I had some technical issues, so you are right on time. If watching too many law of assumption videos, is watching too many law of assumption videos good or bad? Because I feel when I watch them, they help me to remain in the positive mindset, and otherwise I spiral a lot. Naturally, we want to find things that are going to help inspire us and help keep us on track, so to speak, help us to persist, right, without the spiraling. And I think a lot of people are in agreement when they say that they watch videos for that reason. It helps to keep them motivated. It helps to keep them inspired, and in that sense, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Where it might become a bit of a hindrance is, and I've talked about this in a couple of videos that I've done, where it might become somewhat of a hindrance is if you are only watching videos and not applying the practice. And Neville used to say, or it even says in the Bible, be doers of the word and not just hearers only. And that basically means we have to put this to practice. We have to put these teachings to the test. And what happens sometimes is we get so caught up in watching videos and taking all this information in that we don't really go about applying it in a way that we should be, with that consistent practice. But in and of itself, videos are not a bad thing. I don't see them as I mean, I make videos. This is, I want people to be educated. I want people to understand how this works. I want them to know about the law. So in that sense, of course, of course we're going to watch videos, but just make sure that you're also applying what you learn. SM says, hello from Germany. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, thank you. Thank you again for the super chats. You are awesome. You are awesome. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to start working together. This is going to be so fun. I guess what I'm asking about the no competition with everyone as you pushed out is, can you make it so that nobody else matters but you when you're out in public? Like other people are not there. I guess what I'm asking about, can you make it so that nobody else matters but you when you're out in public? You mean as far as in, like, when you're out in public, how to circumnavigate the feeling of social anxiety or the feeling of being around a bunch of people? I'm trying to make sure I understand the question. I'm so sorry. How can I know when the old man is dead? Would you measure that? You feel chosen for X amount of days. I have a goal in my head of 30 straight days, excuse me, of it being my dominant state to feel like number one. Well, the first part of the question is how to know that the old man is dead is there is a noticeable shift in feeling. There is a very, very noticeable shift in how you are thinking and feeling and interacting and like with yourself and with others in your day to day. It is noticeable, right? As far as how much time, that's where we don't really know. We can't. There is no definitive set time as to how long it takes to quote unquote kill the old man. I like your idea. I like that plan of 30 straight days of being stubbornly persistent in that new state, as much as you can, as often as you can. Yeah, I mean, as the psychologists like to say that it takes 3 weeks, 21 days to form a new habit, and what was it, 6 weeks, or I think it's 6 weeks or 3 months or something for it to become like a new version of you. But take everything with a grain of salt. The point being is to make sure that above all else, you are spending as much time, you are persisting as much as possible in that new state, feeling yourself as the person that you desire to be, whatever that looks like. And if you find yourself falling out of that state, if you notice that you have started slinking back into your old habits, your old ways of thinking, catch yourself, move back. Catch yourself, move back. 70 times 7 if needed. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Bursu. I'm probably going to butcher your name. I'm so sorry. My limiting belief is manifestations only happen when I least expect them. But how one can consciously manifest without expecting them to happen? I think that's a pretty common limiting belief. I used to feel the same way. I used to have a very similar feeling about that. And it, in a sense, it does come about when you're not looking for it, right? So in a way, it is that, and this is why we're encouraged to not go seeking on the outside, go seeking in the 3D for what we are manifesting, because, well, that's, You can't be in that state and be looking for it at the same time. So how can one consciously manifest without expecting them to happen? You get to a place, you get to a point when that subconscious impression has been planted, when that seed has been planted, you will naturally drop all of the old patterns, the old ways of thinking, and you're not going to be so inclined to be looking for it, so to speak. You're not gonna, it's the best way to describe it is placing an order online. When you've placed an order online, you know that it's done. You know that there's nothing left to do, that it's on its way, it's coming. So we wait. And every seed has its appointed hour, so it will come. We know that we have placed this order and we know that it will come. So we don't spend that interim, checking our mailbox every 30 seconds. We don't, go out and try to find it. We know it's coming. So you naturally get to a place where you have, and it's a state of trust, I guess. That is where faith comes in. But when you've impressed your desires subconsciously, you're not going to be so inclined to look for it, because that's silly. Thank you. What does the feeling of apathy mean? I feel like I don't care anymore if my SP shows up. I still love him and prefer that we be together. I don't think this is Sabbath. Are you talking about a state of indifference? Because it absolutely, the Sabbath isn't always this feeling of like exuberance or overwhelming joy. The Sabbath feels normal. It feels just normal. With it, we're no longer in that state of, longing and anxiety ridden and all of these things that we may have been before. So, I mean, from what you're describing, it does get to a point of, I wouldn't say it's I don't care. It's more I'm good. I'm good. This is, of course, is my preference. Of course I want us to be together, but I'm okay right now. So you may well be. You may well be. In the Sabbath, you don't have to, you drop the desire, essentially. That's what that means. How to make drastic appearance change, because I always think that my SP rejects me because of my looks. She indicated that to me before. It feels so, I am so sorry, gamers. Yeah, that as far as physical changes, well, before diving into that, I want to make a quick note. I would first and foremost, I would revise what she said to you. I would revise her making any kind of indication that she's rejecting you or that she's not interested because of your looks. I would revise that incident and really make sure that that isn't on loop in our mind, right? Because again, we're going to be manifesting these things if we're not mindful of them. If we're coming from a place of, my SP doesn't like how I look, so I need to change how I look. Do you see what the story is? So be sure to revise those circumstances where she said those things, first and foremost. And then secondly, as far as, how to go about changing our appearance, definitely check out, I made a video talking about health and physical appearance. I made a video talking about how I went about making those changes. So I definitely recommend to watch that video if you haven't seen it yet, but also make sure to revise any kind of interaction with your SP that was hurtful or that was upsetting, anything like that. You got this. You are so welcome. Thank you, Zachary. Zachary, I can't talk today. Manifesting physical changes. How would I go about staying in the wish fulfilled? I've been visualizing and affirming, trying to stay in the state. How to go about staying in the wish fulfilled when it comes to physical change? Well, it's a pretty universal thing when we're talking about how to stay in the wish fulfilled. The same is applied to anything that we're trying to manifest, right? So there's not going to be any huge difference between how do you stay in the wish fulfilled for physical changes or money, or basically it's how do we live in the end, right? You've been visualizing and affirming, and really take note of how you're feeling. You know, what the feeling is that comes up when you're doing these things. Are you invoking that feeling? Are you invoking that state when you are visualizing and affirming? Are you saying it to say it for the sake of saying it? So it really depends, but make sure whatever you're doing, however you're going about with this practice, that it is helping you tap into that feeling, that you are really noticing a shift in how you feel, right? One thing that I did often, and this is for anybody who's trying to manifest physical change, one thing that I did often was standing in front of my mirror during the day. And I would, even with my eyes open, I would see my reflection, but I would see myself with clearer skin. I would see myself as the version of me that I wanted to be. So that was something that certainly did help. I also recommend checking out the video. I talk a lot more in detail about that. I talk a lot more in detail in that video about what I did. But yeah, make sure that you're tapping into the feeling at the end of the day. How do I literally change a past mistake so that no one remembers it? Revise it. Revision. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on utilizing anger at your current self-concept to shift it? Absolutely. So there are situations, I guess there are unique moments where anger can be a motivator. You know, anger, when we channel it right, when we're utilizing anger correctly, it can actually be a force, a strong force for change. That can absolutely create a catalyst, because if you direct that anger in a way, it will help to really just light that fire under your ass even more. I know it certainly did that for me. Happy Friday. Can I manifest my ex back even when I cheated on them? Yes. Yes, you can. Circumstances never, ever, 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 ever matter. If the 3D is just the reflection of self, is there any point in focusing on manifesting at all? Shouldn't it be enough to focus purely within and changing self? Yes, absolutely. That is the point. Yes. There is no one to change. There's nothing to change but self. Absolutely. Hey, Angela. Hello, Angela. I am able to remember and tap into the feeling of being with my SP. However, sometimes I feel conflicted about those feelings since it feels like I'm tapping back into the old relationship. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's something, and good observation, by the way. That's certainly something that we want to be mindful of because we're not, obviously, for most people, there's probably things that we would want to change about that old story. And so we don't want to go back and revisit that old story. So when you're imagining for you and your person, definitely want to be mindful of not going back to that old story. We want to instead imagine the version of them that we desire to be with. We want to imagine them in the way that we desire for them to show up, right? So I would get clear on that first. I'd get very clear on what that version of him looks like. How does he show up? How does he treat you? I would get familiar with that. I'd get familiar with the new story, right? So we're not just tapping back into old, unwanted circumstance. Hi! Can't wait for the reality shifting video. Yeah, that's coming soon. That's coming soon, you guys. I have not forgotten. I just need to edit it. It's already filmed. That one was so much. Oh man, that was so much fun. It's something that I haven't yet really talked about or dive into because it's such an out there concept. I didn't want to scare you guys away, but it seems like most of you are really into it. That makes me happy. Hey, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. I feel I don't need to manifest my SP anymore until last week. I visualize 2 times a day with a lot of emotions, and I always want him, but I don't want any more to visualize or I don't have feelings. So you and correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have a desire anymore to visualize or do sats, but you still desire him. If that's correct, if I'm getting that right, then that is a good indication. That is a good indication that you've reached the Sabbath. Yeah. That's a good feeling. Hey, Missy, I've been feeling like I reached the Sabbath in manifesting my SP, but now I feel wobbly about it and want to reach out to him. Is it normal to still doubt sometimes? Do you have any advice? Yes. Well, first off, we don't ever want to react or take action in the 3D if it's stemming from a place of fear and uncertainty, right? So really, this is where we got to catch ourselves. This is where we have to be very, very mindful and aware of where it's stemming from, right? So I wouldn't reach out to him if it's coming from a place of feeling anxious and scared, first and foremost. Second off, as far as, is this normal to still doubt sometimes? Absolutely. Absolutely. And when that happens, we acknowledge it, we catch it, and then we go back. We move ourselves back. Because the thing is, guys, like, we are always moving in and out of states. And when we have been conditioned for so long to keep returning to a certain state, that it's almost like we're programmed to do it, we're going to keep wanting to do that. So whenever that happens, if you notice that it almost feels like you're sliding back or that you're feeling wobbly, it's okay. That's okay. It's totally normal. We just want to be able to catch it and we want to be able to move back, right? As many times as needed, 70 times 7, as Neville said. 70 times 7. Oh, don't apologize. No, no, no. Your English was just fine. No, no, no apologies needed. Can you do more videos on personal testimonies from yourself and others? If so, can you primarily do the ones where the stories are most elaborated? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It has been a while since I've made a success story video, so I should do that. Yes. What are, in your experience, the main reasons why it's hard to feel into a state? Well, two biggest reasons being it's a state we haven't felt before, so we might not be fully like we might not be aware of what that would feel like, and or it's contrast to the limiting beliefs and assumptions that we carry, right? So if we have a belief about ourselves that isn't good, if we have a belief that we're not good enough, that we're never going to be chosen, that we're never chosen, then feeling into a state opposite of that, feeling chosen, feeling loved, feeling wanted is going to feel very difficult. It feels very difficult because when your dominant state of consciousness, when those limiting beliefs and assumptions are opposite what you desire, that's resistance. That is what resistance is. And that's our minds trying to, that is us trying to subconsciously reject that state. So yeah, those being the main reasons, the biggest reasons as to why it can be difficult for us to move into, or even further maintain that state, right? Because a lot of times we successfully move into that state, but we don't stay there. We find ourselves hot and cold and double-minded, and that's why. Thank you. Thank you, Bursu. Bursu. I'm probably butchering your name. I'm so sorry, but thank you for the kind words. You are sweet. Thank you. Thank you, fabulous Dorca. You are sweet. My success story is still playing out, but I will be happy to send it when it's finished. Please do. Please do. Hi, Missy. When you say imagine not to get it in the future, but to experience it now, I'm a little confused. Because aren't we imagining so it can impress on the subconscious and manifest in the 3D? Yes, we are imagining for that subconscious impression. And if I get your question totally wrong, I apologize, but we imagine as if it's happening now because this is the 3D is all past imaginal acts playing out now. It's all just things that we've imagined. These are everything that we are experiencing in this present moment in the 3D was once an imaginal act that is coming to pass. So when we are imagining, we want to do so from the premise of this is happening right now. That's how we get impressions. That's how we get successful impressions. If I miss something on your question, let me know. We are imagining for it to happen in the 3D, yes, but knowing that there is what appears to us as a time lag between when we've imagined something and when it comes to pass. So that's why we want to imagine as if it's right now. Even though we are technically imagining for the future, yes, it's because we imagine the imagination precedes our 3D. I hope that makes sense. Can we get our SP to delete social media or stop following or interacting flirtatiously with other women? Yes, you can manifest changes in other people's behavior. Yes, absolutely. Hi, Missy. Is it okay to exaggerate my imagination or add a little bit of fantasy? Wait. Is it okay to exaggerate my imagination or add a little bit of fantasy, or would you recommend keeping it real? I would say this is your imagination. This is your world. You can go nuts. If you want to make it fun, make it fun. Hey, Missy, curious on your advice regarding allowing the bridge of incidents to unfold without getting discouraged by not having end results sooner than later. Curious on your advice regarding allowing the bridge of incidents. So, if I'm gathering this right, and correct me if I'm wrong, how do we allow the bridge to unfold without getting discouraged? Is that that's if I have that question right, that's going to come down to trust. That's going to come down to buying the pearl. Buying the Pearl of Great Price. If you guys have not read that lecture or heard that lecture, I strongly recommend that lecture. That one is one it's in my top 3 favorite of his. But that comes down to the degree of trust. That comes down to being stubbornly adamant that what we imagine must come to pass. It has to. Yeah, but if I miss something in that question, just let me know. Hey, Missy, how would you navigate manifesting multiple desires simultaneously? For example, SP, wealth and abundance, new home. What would be your game plan? Oh, you're the best, Kim. Thank you. And that's a really good question. I actually get that one a lot because I think for most people, there's more than just one thing that we desire. We usually have multiple desires. I mean, there may be some that we want to come to pass sooner, some that we may want more than others, but we all have multiple desires. And honestly, the best way that I've found is using something like the lullaby method, using something like imagining and feeling in a general state of satisfaction, a general state of gratitude, a general state of feeling lucky or healthy or joyful, whatever it might be, whatever it might be. Because we can also, you know, have different imaginal scenes for different desires. Of course, we could do that. That's totally fine. But when you're in a state of gratitude, and this is why I talk so much about gratitude, when you're in a state of gratitude, you are living in the end of whatever it is you're trying to manifest. Because ultimately, if that manifestation came to pass, what would be a dominant feeling that we would be? What would be the dominant feeling? We'd be grateful. We would be thankful. We would be giving thanks for these blessings. So I know there's some apprehension that people have with going general and focusing more on the general aspect, the general state, the general feeling. But that, for me, hands down, has been my go to. And this is how I've manifested multiple things at once, at the same time. And for me, it's what's helped the most. Now, again, if you have several desires that you are trying to manifest and want to do so through visualizing different scenes, that's totally fine too. Just my 2 cents. Thanks for answering my question. You are welcome. Is my cat around? I think she's off being fat and sleeping somewhere. Does Neville ever talk about the 10 Commandments, and are they related to consciousness? Yes, and yes. Yes, and yes. I'm actually making a video. Well, haven't yet gotten to the video about the 10 Commandments, but I am making a series, doing a lot of videos, guys. I'm making a series, and it's going to be an ongoing series about the Bible, and specifically the metaphysical, the esoteric Bible, and kind of help translate what it means in the sense of conscious creators. So one of the videos that I'm going to be doing in that series is going to be on the 10 Commandments. Yeah. If you want to get them to claim you or let everyone know they are in love with you, would you revise or do something else? So that might be more in par with an imaginal act for something in the future, if I'm understanding correctly. Revision is a go-to for something that may have already happened, right? When we're wanting to change aspects of the past and events that have already happened. If it's something that we want to have happen, if it's something that we look to experience later on, then we would use imaginal acts. We would use SATs. Hi, Gina. Girl, it is so good to see you again. I'm so glad you're doing well. What's your favorite technique that has been fail proof for you? Oh, you're sweet. You were so sweet. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're the best. You're the best. And that's an awesome question. My fail proof, that's all, like my go-to is lullaby method. I use that every day. In fact, I set the day with imagining and feeling the state of gratitude, getting into a state of gratitude every morning. That is my go-to. And even for, if it's for something like abundance, what I've done in the past is, just feeling that state of abundance, feeling that state of love, right? That has been amazing for me. That has been game changing for me. And it was actually Neville's go to as well. He talked about it when he got asked this question, and he got asked questions about manifesting multiple desires. And basically, it was like, combine those desires and extract the feeling. Like, what is the ultimate feeling that you want to experience? And then marinate in that feeling. But yeah, good question. Some say you can literally tell them what to do. Some say you could literally tell them what to do. Would you repeat it in your head? You only you love only me. You call me now, or what else? So it sounds like that approach is you're trying to literally change that person over there, and that's not what we're doing when it comes to this. I if when it comes to other people, when it comes to everyone as you pushed out, it's understanding that there is infinite versions of that person. So instead of trying to focus on the version that we don't want, maybe the person in front of us that we don't want, we would instead imagine the version of them and keep our focus and attention on that version that we desire to see show up. That's that's key. That is key. That is key. That is key. So you're not thought transmissioning. You're not, you know, forcing that person over there to do something. And this is why this is how we're able to manifest other people, changes in other people. It's not that we're changing them, we're changing ourselves. We're changing how we view them. We're changing how we feel about them, how we feel about how they feel about us, right? We're changing all of that. We're changing the dynamics. And when we do that, we move into a new state where that version of them is going to show up differently. I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. Can you do a 30-day manifesting challenge? Or, ooh, I like that. I like that. Yes. Yes. Yeah, that is a good idea. It's some motivation going. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll coordinate that in my Facebook group and get that started. I like that. Hi, Missy. If there is no such thing as an intuition, then how can we tell when someone is sad, happy, etc.? Is there an exception? So, what we know as intuition, what we've always known to be intuition, is our beliefs. It is a belief, right? So, how do we know if somebody is sad or happy? Well, it's whatever we like. They are going to show up in a way that we assume. They are going to show up in a way that we assume, or at least the version of them that we assume is who we're going to encounter, right? So if we have a belief that this person is going to get angry with us, or they're always angry with us, or they're going to show up in a way that's angry, that's what's going to be the intuition, or how it seems to, like, it feels like the intuition's going off first as a warning, but it's a belief. It is a belief. So how do you know what they're feeling? Again, the people in our world, the version of them that shows up is what lines up with that belief, which is why it seems like our intuition is dead set right. That's why it feels like our intuition is never wrong, because those are our beliefs, and what we experience, the circumstances we experience, are based on those beliefs. So, yeah. To make a state normal and natural, is it best to revise too? Some say affirmations essentially mean you see the lack and are trying to convince yourself. Affirmations, I've talked a lot about affirmations in videos, and affirmations can be a very powerful tool when implemented correctly. The problem is most people are affirming from a place of lack. They are affirming to try to convince yourself of this new belief. And it becomes almost a vain repetition, saying it for the sake of saying it. And that's not how we go about manifesting the kind of change that we desire to see, at least not on a lasting level, right? So, as far as how to make the state normal, natural, this is why we use imagination. This is why through imagination, we can visit that state as many times as we want because there are no limits to what we can imagine. We can go anywhere, we can do anything in imagination. And subconsciously, we can't tell the difference. We cannot tell the difference between a memory of something that really happened and an imaginal act. So the more that you feel it in imagination, it's going to feel in your subconscious mind that this is something that you've experienced. So that's how it feels natural. That's how you get it to feel normal, right? Hope that makes sense. Am I being double-minded when I say I want my SP or someone better? I wonder if my thought of someone better is holding SP back from contacting me. Or will SP or someone better reach out anyway? Oh, thank you. Thank you for the super chat, SB. I just saw that. Sorry. Double-minded. Yeah. So I noticed that's a very, I definitely see it more in the law of attraction type communities, the this or something better approach, which I don't fully understand the point of. I mean, I guess I get the point of that, but I would focus on SP. If SP is what you ultimately desire, then put the focus on SP, right? And to answer your question, the simplest forms, that is being a bit double-minded. Yes, not intentionally, of course. But yeah, I would get clear on our like first thing we want to make sure to do is get very, very clear on what we want. Get very clear on that. Yay! Imagine I don't feel anything. When I imagine, I don't feel anything. Do you experience this when you imagine at first? I find it hard to feel that explosion Neville talks about. Yes. Yeah, when I first was getting into all of this, when I was new to the law, I mean, my sats were terrible. I'm going to be honest. They were bad. I couldn't really see anything. It was all blurry and dark and couldn't feel anything for the life of me. Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely that is not uncommon. That's not uncommon. Yeah, rest assured, the more that you practice though, it does get easier. And that's an important note that I want to make sure everybody really understands that this is probably not going to feel the most natural and effortless and normal at first because it's not. This is something that for most of us we've never done before, that we've never used our minds like this before. We've never used our imagination in this way before. So you can think of the imagination almost like a muscle in that sense, and that we need to exercise that muscle to make it stronger and stronger, right? So really want to make sure that that's out there and that that's understood, because I know it's easy to get discouraged if, when we're new at this, we're not seeing anything, we're not feeling anything. It's there's a reason it is called a practice. This is a practice. 100%. You are welcome. You are welcome. Can you explain what staying in a state looks like for you? Yeah, it's a state is essentially an experience based on a body of beliefs, like in the simplest terms. That's what that means. So, staying in that state is the feeling of naturalness. Like, if you'll know, because what you feel when you feel that state, it feels normal to you. It feels natural to you. You're spending most of your time in that state. It's how you feel. Like, always look to how you are feeling, like what you are thinking, what the inner conversations are. All of this internal dialogue and how you feel is your gauge, letting you know what state you are in. I'm an artist, so I visualize very well, but I can't visualize the same scene all the time for one desire. So I have 3 or 4 scenes for each desire, and I choose the one I want to visualize depending on the day. Yeah, and that's honestly, that is perfect. That's perfect. There's no hard set rule that says you can only have one scene and one scene only. It really depends on what works best for you. What works best for you. All right, I'm going to take a couple more questions, and I do have to wrap this up soon. I do have to wrap this up soon, but you guys have been so awesome. Oh, man. I'm loving this. Am I going to put this recording into the videos? Am I going to put this recording? I mean, this recording will be saved for playback, yes. Yeah, you are welcome, SB. I love doing these. Is it okay to visualize several different scenes in SATs? Are you talking about in that same SAT session? Oh, I mean, I guess either way, yes, you can, but it is helpful to note that you want to stick to one scene, one imaginal act until it begins to feel real, until you begin to really take on the feeling of it. And people ask what this means. It's hard to put it into words, but it will start to feel like you'll start to naturally invoke emotions that come with that scene, or the comfortable feeling of that scene. So I wouldn't jump all over the place in SATs. You can definitely imagine more than one act in a session, but you want to stick to one until the naturalness, the feeling of naturalness comes over, and then you can move to another one. I hope that made sense. Hey, Priscilla. What can I do to stop hot and cold behavior? SP came back, but now he's disappeared. I feel discouraged. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. The hot and cold behavior, and I made a video talking about it. You should definitely watch that video if you haven't seen it yet. Hot and cold behavior is essentially double-mindedness. When other people are showing up in a hot and cold manner, it's because of our double-mindedness. We're going back and forth from the state of love, confident, it's done, to anxious, insecure, doubting, all of that. So we combat that again through this practice of persistence, through maintaining that desired state 70 times 7, as many times as we need. Keep yourself in that state as much and as often as possible. When you are no longer double-minded, there will not be that hot and cold behavior anymore. That I can promise. But keep going, don't give up. Personally, I visualize with music, which gives me emotions. Yeah. Oh, music is fantastic in this practice. If there's music that helps you to feel like really good and helps to put you in that state, utilize it. Utilize it. Yeah, absolutely. And choosing the music depending on what you want to feel. Yep. Yeah. Is it okay to be aware that the desire is not currently happening in 3D, but rather will be happening any moment? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I made a video recently talking about this, about living in the end. Um, I think it was 2 videos back. But essentially, we're not trying to pretend that what we desire is already in 3D. Like we're not trying to trick ourselves or fool ourselves. This is the main reason that people begin to feel delusional is they try to do it this way. It's not that you can be aware that it's not in your 3D currently, but that it must come, that it is going to happen. Because what you imagine precedes the 3D, comes before the 3D. Ah! I cannot wait to. I am so excited. I am so excited. Yay! Do you think continuing to watch manifesting materials / videos causes resistance? Actually, this was one of the first questions that I answered at the beginning of the stream. But in short, in and of its, the videos themselves, by themselves, if you're using it for inspiration, if you're using it for education, that's fine. But there does get to be a point where we've learned everything that we know, that we need to know, and then it becomes putting it to practice, being doers of the word. And that's what we want to make sure that we're not overlooking, that we're not skipping. So videos are fine. Videos can be an amazing tool, an amazing resource, but we want to make sure that we are actually applying what we're learning. Because it could be easy to get caught in habits where we spend the whole day watching videos and yeah. All right. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. I do have to wrap this up. Yeah. Oh, shoot. It's going to be that time. Okay. One more. Last question. Missy, how can you approach manifesting an SP when too much time has passed and you don't know who they're with or what they are doing? Complete no contact and no social media. How can you approach manifesting SP? Well, first, it's important to note that the time thing doesn't matter. Time does not matter. Time's an illusion, anyways. Doesn't matter how much time has passed. 100% irrelevant. So that's first thing to know and understand, right? And as far as who they're with, what they're doing, again, it is whatever we assume. Whatever we assume is what we are going to encounter. So it doesn't matter what they're doing or who they're with or not with, any of that. Those are all circumstances that we're feeding into. We're creating a new story, and we're doing this all the time. We're always creating aspects of the story that is our life. So being mindful always of what we are telling ourselves, what we are impressing, because they become subconscious impressions, right? So I would approach manifesting an SP from the place of time doesn't matter because it's an illusion anyways. And ultimately, it doesn't matter what the SP is doing over there because there's been no contact, because they're going to show up in the way that I assume. I'm like, that is the approach that I would take. That's the approach that I would take, because ultimately, that's the approach we should be taking when it comes to anything that we're doing. Oh, much love to you. Much love to all of you. You guys, I love doing this. I love doing this with y'all. You've been great. And sadly, it is time for me to go. But I will be back on again soon. Yeah. I want you to have an awesome, awesome, awesome weekend. One last shameless plug. If you guys want, I have my new workshops out and available. Have it all in the description box below. I've got a coupon for 20% off of those. If you want more information, more deep dives, check it out. Until next time, y'all, this has been so much fun. I appreciate every single one of you. Much, much, much love. Bye, guys.